Hey there, it's Robin, and you're listening to Healthy Habits for a Healthier Home. I'm here to help you create a healthier life, one simple shift at a time. If you're a mama ready to ditch toxins, clean up your family's nutrition, and build daily habits that support your well-being, you're definitely in the right place. Each episode is packed not only with education, but practical tips and tools to help you transform your health and your home without that feeling of overwhelm. So let's take this journey together to create a thriving, low-tox home for you and your family. If you're ready, say, I am ready. Now let's get into this episode. Hey friends, welcome back to today's episode. We're going to be diving into a truth that might be hard for some of us to hear, but it's so necessary. And that small truth that I realized, that I've been realizing, but really came to fruition last week for me, is that there is no one in particular that we can rely on to come and save us from this health and wellness crisis that we're in. For many years, I trusted doctors. I trusted corporations. I trusted quote unquote experts. I thought the government, had our back. But what we've been conditioned to believe is that they have our best interest at heart. But when I actually started to peel back the layers as different things would come up for our family, I started recognizing different things. And I started to really come to this conclusion that it's up to me to advocate for myself, to advocate for my children, to create my healthy world for my family. And am I perfect? Absolutely not. But do I work on it daily? Yes, because that's how important it is to me. Some of the things that I recently learned, which you guys know I talk a lot about food dyes, but food dyes are still allowed in our food supply, even though other countries have either banned them or require warning labels so that people know when they're purchasing something what the harmful effects could be. But here in the United States, we still serve this to our kids every day at lunch and breakfast at school. We still serve it to our kids in our snacks that we purchase. And there are alternatives, and that's what excites me so much. Something else that I learned is that lobbyists influence law more than public health experts. And that's kind of newer for me. And yes, I know that lobbyists are out there lobbying against some of these really amazing bills that want to become laws. And I get, why they do what they do. But we as the people need to take back our power using our voices, doing certain things that we're going to talk about in a little bit. The other thing that I learned, and not that I'm shocked, but I wanted to share with you, is that the food pyramid that was created by corporate funding. It wasn't created by health and wellness experts. And I'm talking about the pyramid that has the base of the pyramid being all carbs. And then at the very top, it's protein and like other things that are actually, it should be reversed. These are just some very basic things that I've learned recently that I wanted to share with you guys, because I think that education is the key to us having a better understanding and being able to make educated decisions. So most of us are still waiting, right? We're still hoping, we're still praying that somebody makes all of these decisions and these changes for us, and they step in and they basically figure it out and fix it for us. But unfortunately, that is not the situation. So today we're going to talk about the bills that are currently in place that have some opposition. We're going to talk about how you can, or what you can do to help push them forward. We're going to talk about why it's time to take our power back and make our own health decisions with a little bit of common sense, and finding partnerships with doctors and integrative and functional people that have your best interest. And then we're going to really dive into how to start removing harmful ingredients from our home, again, with my philosophy of the 1% shifts. So, as we know, food dyes are not the only ingredient that we need to be avoiding, but there is the reason that I'm focusing so much on this is because there's no nutritional value to them. They're not giving our kids anything that they need except for a visual. And to me, the harm that can come from these for some and a lot of kids when we logically think about that, common sense says it shouldn't be in our food. And if you want to put it in your own food, great, do it yourself. We have to reclaim our health, our choices. And even again, like I said, we need to really claim some of this common sense that I feel like, we've lost because we've just been listening and doing and obeying and doing the things that we've been told to do. And they're not necessarily in our best interest. So first, let's talk about some of the bills. Right now, we have 3 on the table aimed at banning harmful chemicals throughout the state, which is food dyes and a few additives. We have one that addresses banning food dyes in schools, and that's where my heart lies. And then we have another one, which is creating labels. So if your product has a synthetic dye in it, you have to have a label on it so that it's transparent. So that when a parent picks up Tricks or picks up Fruit Loops or picks up, Cheetos or whatever it is that has dyes in it, on the front, it should label that there are some effects that your child might encounter by consuming these synthetic food dyes. And I think if that is on there, not only does that give us transparency, but it allows us to make quick, educated decisions because we are all in this rush, chaotic society where we don't have a lot of time. We don't want to spend a lot of time doing the research. So that would really, really help. It would also put a message out to the companies that if you're going to put this stuff in our foods, then you're going to have to label and be transparent about it, which currently they're not. All right, so recently, last week, I went to the MAHA Coalition Day at the Florida State Capitol, and I spoke to a lot of legislators and aides and health advocates and these amazing organizations that were all there coming together for the greater common good of people. And there again was some things that I learned. Number one, the process is definitely not easy. It takes time, it takes persistence, it takes a lot of public awareness and public pressure. It also takes people standing up to these lobbyists and these corporations that don't want us to put these bills into place. Lobbyists have deep pockets, right? Big food companies don't want these laws to pass because, it will hurt their bottom line. Most people, I would say the majority of people, don't really know that any of this is happening for us. And that's why I'm here today. I want to inform you about what other people are doing for the safety of you and what we can do so that we can participate in the safety of our food system and the safety of our children and the safety of our own health. So what can we do? Like, what is all of this stuff? What does it really mean? How can me, one little person, really make a difference? And I want to say that for every voice that speaks up, and I always say every voice matters, you are creating a ripple effect. And that ripple effect is going to spread wide and far. And that is how change is made. So what can you do? Number one, you can call and email your state legislators, and you can tell them that you support these bills, that you want these bills to pass, and you would like them to consider supporting them as well. Each bill has to go through multiple committees before it gets to the House floor and the Senate floor. And then after those two, everybody agrees along the way, doing amendments and things like that, then it goes to the governor's desk where he can either veto it or pass it. So there's a long process. It's not just like, here's the bill, one person speaks on it, one person says yes, and it goes. It is multiple people, multiple views, and it's important for us to speak to our representatives because they work for us. And when we speak to them and we tell them that we are for something and that why we want this to be done, they listen. If nobody speaks up, they're not as they don't have enough motivation to keep going through this hard, treacherous, time getting something passed. The second thing that we can do besides emailing and calling, we can sign petitions, right? So we have a petition right now that's created to get dyes out of our school lunches. It's not necessary. It's not healthy. It's not doing what's intended, which is to promote health and wellness for our children so that they can be working hard in their classrooms. They can be learning. They can be thriving. But when you have some of these sensitivities to dyes and you have some of these neurobehavioral issues where you can't focus and you're restless and You have inattentiveness. It is really hard to go to a classroom and learn. And some of these kids, that's the majority of the food that they get is breakfast and lunch, and then they go home and they might have a small dinner. So again, a majority of their nutrition is coming from school. And so school lunches and school food in general needs to be, in my opinion, nutrient dense. It needs to really be promoting health and wellness for our kids. So signing petitions is another way to get your voice out there. And the third way is to educate your family and friends, because the more people demand change, the harder it is to ignore. We all need to hear something a quadrillion times before it sinks in, and we need to hear it when the timing is right for us. And I've spoken to a lot of people that have children that might be diagnosed with ADD and ADHD lately. And what if part of that struggle for them has to do with food dyes? What if it is that simple? And a lot of people that I have had conversations with, when they have removed the synthetic dyes, even if they're still needing to take an ADHD medication, they're finding better relief. They're finding ways to cope better, to create the tools that these kids need to thrive. And so this small little change also, for some people, has taken them completely off medication, and they're able to have these tools and tips just working for them without medication. So I think it cannot do any harm to eliminate these food dyes. Again, they have no nutritional value. So the only thing that they're doing is creating a visual for us. And that can be flipped. We don't have to have something that's visually appealing all the time. Not that when it doesn't have dye that it looks gross, but the bright, vibrant colors is what, quote unquote, they say the kids prefer. All right, so the big secret, okay, that I was reminded of last week is that there's no one person that's going to come and save us from the health crisis that we're in. We can pass the laws. We can do it at a federal level, a state level, a local level, and all of that is great. But at the end of the day, change is going to start in our home. And so we have been conditioned to trust outside authorities more than we've been conditioned to trust our own common sense. And sometimes, you get that little like gut feeling. That is your body telling you that something doesn't feel right. We have waited for the government to tell us that sugar was bad, that it caused type 2 diabetes and all the other, autoimmune issues and inflammation. We've waited for studies to prove that processed foods cause disease. And we've waited for someone to fix our school lunches. But, guess what? We're still waiting, right? We're waiting because number one, there's a lot of fixing to be done. And I do have a lot of confidence, and I have a renewed hope that RFK being at the HHS, he is going to make some big, huge strides along his journey. But we can't expect that he's going to fix us, right? Because we can remove synthetic dyes, but we still have to learn how to be an ingredient detective, because it's not the only ingredient that needs to be avoided. We also need to learn how to fuel our bodies properly, and he cannot do that for us, nor can anybody in a governmental agency. So it is up to us. And so here's the reality. We don't need more studies to tell us that we're the sickest generation in history. The evidence is all around us. If we look, when we go out, when we go to the grocery store, we go to the doctor, it is evident. We are the study. So the evidence, is not only just around us, but we have participated in the study. So instead of just waiting, let's ask ourselves this question. What can we do today to save ourselves and our family and to create better health and wellness? And I know that's a very big question, and it can feel really overwhelming, especially if you're in the trenches of behavioral issues at home, if you are in the trenches of chronic disease. It can seem super overwhelming. And that's where my 1% shift method comes in. If you feel overwhelmed by all of this, the first thing I want to give you permission to do is take a deep breath. Because breathing is something that regulates our body. It's something that brings us calm. And we forget to do it a lot, especially when we're in high stress, chaotic situations. I want to also remind you that this is a journey. It's not a race. So we can't expect to make all these changes overnight. And so that, again, is where we go back to that 1% shift method. So today we're going to talk about 4 simple things that you can do to get started. And remember, this is just about getting started. It's taking one step forward. And the first thing, and these are very basic things, these are foundational, these are things that I will continually repeat over and over, because without these certain little things, it's going to be really hard to make those bigger 1% shifts down the road. So the first one is becoming an ingredient detective. I know you guys hear me talk about this often, but it's that important. It's so important for us to remember that when we can read a label, we can make an educated decision. When we don't understand the ingredients, it's really hard for us to, in the store at the moment, to make a quick decision if we're not sure what's in there. So I have a top 5 offender list that I encourage everybody to memorize. And when you go into a store and you look at these products, if you see any of these top 5 offenders, and I'll add a few additives in, those really should be a hard no. And those include seed oils, synthetic food dyes, processed sugar, unhealthy fats, and natural flavors. Some of the additives that I want you guys to just start becoming aware of is polysorbate 80, TBHQ, and BHT. All of these play a role in creating dysfunction in our body, which then creates a great environment for chronic disease to thrive. My other little tip, so again, let's just go over those 5 offenders. Seed oils, synthetic food dyes, processed sugars, unhealthy fats, natural flavors. And we're going to have a whole episode on natural flavors maybe next week or the week after. The other little tidbit is if you're reading through that list and you cannot pronounce something, then most likely it's not a whole food. And so then I ask the question, would I be able to buy this ingredient in the store and keep it in my refrigerator or keep it in my pantry? If the answer is no, then you know it is chemical based, you know it's been altered, you know that it's gone through some process that doesn't make it natural at that point, doesn't make it a food. So I would just say, if you can't pronounce it, research it, and it's a hard no. Okay, the second thing that I want us to understand are the real numbers. So when you look at the back of a label, you're going to see the calories, you're going to see the fat, the saturated fat, you'll see the carbohydrates, you'll see sugar, now you see added sugar, and then you see your proteins. But nowhere on there do you see how many micrograms of synthetic dyes are in these foods. And that's a problem because we don't know how much we're ingesting, and we don't even know what is really supposed to be ingested or would be harmful to be ingested. So there's been some studies done, and Dr. Anna-Marie Temple really does a great visual, and I'll link it in the show notes for you guys to watch. But she says that on average, kids consume 200 micrograms of synthetic dyes a day, and that just 30 grams or 32 grams can cause some of those neurobehavioral issues. So I know probably a lot of us are thinking, well, we don't really eat a ton of dyes. We're really cautious on what kind of stuff we bring in our house. The things that we don't think about could be allergy medicine. It could be toothpaste. It could be some of the snacks. It's not just sodas and candies. It's also in Gatorade. It's also in like these sports drinks. It's in obviously the snacky foods, but it's also in pickles. It's also in yogurts. It's in salad dressings. It's hiding in a lot of places that we don't really think about. So now when we think about, okay, what are we eating on a daily basis, or what are we ingesting on a daily basis? And 30 micrograms can cause some of these behaviors. Purdue University did a study measuring some of the amounts of the food dyes for certain foods, and I'm going to link that so that you guys can also look. But just to give you an example, Fruit Loops have 34 or 36 micrograms of synthetic dyes. And let's be honest, most of us eat more than a serving of cereal when we sit down to eat cereal. And that's a fun cereal that these kids like to eat in the morning. However, there's nothing fun about the behavior issues that could come along with those. Pop-Tarts, I think, have like 32. Gatorade has around in the 30s. Doritos have in the 30s. So if you think about how much snack stuff that your kids eat, or salad dressings or pickles or yogurts is a big one. So again, when you think about all of that, that is why it is really important for us to get intentional, start reading labels and understanding what it is that we're actually ingesting. And again, food companies don't want this listed, right? They don't want it listed on the label, because if I knew exactly how much and I knew what, for example, with sugar, I know that if I see something and it has over 9 grams of sugar in a serving, I'm not going to purchase that, because for my family, our rule is kind of 9 and under is a snacky type food. So if I knew micrograms could cause some, neurobehavioral issues, I would not be buying them. Also, that is another reason why labeling the products with these and having that warning label on the front is also going to be very advantageous for parents to be able to make quicker, better decisions as far as what they're feeding their kids. So again, just to recap, we are going to become ingredient detectives. We are now starting to understand a little bit about the numbers on the back. And we're going to link that study so we can start learning some of those numbers. And the third one is we're going to start with one room in your house. So this is where the 1% shift comes in. The main part of our house is usually the hub is the kitchen. Within our kitchen, we've got a pantry, we have a refrigerator, we have a spice rack, we have a medicine cabinet possibly, or maybe that might be in the bathroom. We have multiple places that we are going to start looking for things. I'm not telling you to start with your kitchen and go crazy and do everything, especially because most of us work, we have children, we're doing multiple things. So just take one area, maybe start with your pantry. And what you have to do is with your husband or with your children, if they're old enough, is you're going to have to decide how you're going to approach this. And there's no right or wrong, but the two ways that I've seen people do it is they will list out the things that they have. And then as they are running out of it, they are preparing to swap it out with something better. I have also seen some families put it all in a box and never look at it again and just discard it, because again, I think it matters where your family is on their journey. And if you have a child who is struggling with any kind of chronic disease or behavior issues, you might be more apt to go full in, quicker. And if you're not, but you still know that you want to get rid of these things because they're still harmful for us, you could maybe do it at a little bit of a slower rate. So maybe you start with your pantry, then you move over to your refrigerator, then your spices. But you're also going to look in your bathroom, because that's another place, again, where these things lurk that we're just not really aware of. Our cleaning supplies, our personal care products is another place to look, especially when it comes to kids' products. Toothpaste and soaps and those fun, like colorful things that you put in the bath, and it makes the bath water fun, and then you can write all over the walls, and it comes off, but where's it going? It's going directly in your bathtub onto your skin, which goes directly into your bloodstream. So these things that we're not really thinking of are going to start to become more apparent and present to you, and be like, oh, I need to look at that. And again, there's no right or wrong. It's really going to be up to you guys to decide how you want to do it. And I think that's also a beautiful thing about this journey, is everybody is somewhere different. And so we're all going to be taking this ride and being able to come before someone and show them what you've learned, and then come behind somebody and learn from somebody else. And if we can come into our community with that kind of mentality, as a community, we're going to really create better health and wellness. All right. And the fourth thing, of course, is going to be to find those better swaps. So the goal isn't just to throw all salad dressings away and then never have salad dressing again. It is to find brands. I know Primal Kitchen is a brand. I have a pantry guide that I'm going to link in the show notes that you guys can go, and it gives you healthier brands and swaps and things. But the other thing about dressings is, you can make them at home. And so this week in my newsletter, we talk about like easy ways to make dressings. And if you have your pantry stacked, if you in a way that you're going to be having some of these really good for you ingredients in your home, it's going to be super easy to create on the spot a salad dressing. And it's going to be even better than what you get at the grocery store. Salad dressings is just one instance, but we've got, snack foods. There are alternatives. If you guys are a chip family, my husband is a chipaholic, I call him, but we've switched over to Boulder chips because they're made with avocado oil. We also eat Siete chips. We eat less lesser than evil, I think it's called. For popcorn, it's organic. There are swaps for everything, and that's what that pantry guide will help you with. The next thing that I want to talk about is, having fewer ingredients. So when we have fewer ingredients, we know that it's more of a whole food. When you have a list of 50 things, then we know it's been altered and it has, it's definitely going to have some ultra processed stuff in it. And I always explain to people, think about making a recipe at home. When you make a recipe at home, a basic recipe, it might have, 5 to 7 ingredients. And that very same type of product at the grocery store could have 20 to 25 ingredients. So we just need to start remembering, that we can create things at home that are just as or more delicious than what we see in the stores. But luckily nowadays, there are some brands that are making and creating better for you products. And so there are still some easier ways to get, those pantry type foods to have on hand. I also, to end with, I really just want to remind you that it's progress over perfection. We're not expecting that, you're going to flip your entire house overnight and that your health and wellness is going to bounce back overnight. This is a progress where, you're going to start with one thing and then that's going to lead to the next thing. And so remember, it's progress over perfection. We all have this perfectionism, insanity, I feel like, in this world, and we need to kind of divert away from that, because every small shift, every change that you make, you're adding to the health and wellness of yourself and your family. All right, so friend, if you loved this episode, you can also grab my pantry guide that's going to be in the show notes. I'm also going to drop in there my label reading PDF, because I think it's really important. It will kind of just reiterate a little bit, and it will talk about the different ingredients that I was talking about, and will kind of give you a little bit of information, if you're an information seeker type person, about the effects of some of these different ingredients. If you're not part of our newsletter, please sign up. I will put that in the show notes too, so that each week you can get tips, some research that I'm doing, some easy swaps. I usually put a recipe in, and we can make some of these sustainable changes. If you liked this, please share it, because the more that we can spread the word and empower families to take back the control of their own health, the better health outcomes we're going to have. And again, thank you so much for being a part of this movement, for allowing me to be on your journey with you. And if you ever need somebody to walk beside you, coaching is the way to go, because we start where you're at and we help you make the strides that you need to create wellness in your home for your family, one small shift at a time. Until next time, I hope that you guys find peace, love, and light by breathing, being present, and allowing all possibilities to come your way. I'll talk to y'all soon. That episode had so many great takeaways. I hope you feel inspired and more empowered to make small 1% shifts on your wellness journey this week. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. If you want to leave a review, share your thoughts, and let me know how you're going to be implementing these 1% shifts into your life. And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with another mama who could use a little wellness love. Want to stay connected? Join me on Instagram and Facebook at Live Life Balanced with Robin. Check out my website at livelifebalancedwithrobin.com for more resources, and grab yourself some freebies while you're there. Until next time, I hope you find peace, love, and light by breathing, being present, and allowing for all possibilities to come your way. See y'all next week. Love to y'all.